What up, folks? It's your favorite Tarzan here, and I'm here to have dope conversations with some dope folks. And today's dope conversation will be with Mr. Chase, the lawyer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. So, you are, in fact, a consumer law lawyer?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right. So, can you give us a little bit of your background in law, or tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So basically, like you said, I'm a lawyer. I started out doing mostly criminal defense and personal injury. So personal injury, people get car accidents, slip and fall, stuff like that. And more recently, I made a transition over to consumer law. As far as my background is concerned, so I went to Prairie View A&M for undergrad. So I got a degree in electrical engineering there. And then I decided to go to law school upon graduation. I went to the University of Arkansas, the Razorbacks. And I'm actually a native of here, Arlington, Texas.
All right, that's what's up, man. So it's 2023, and it's a lot going on. And I just want to know, why is it important for us citizens to know the law? Like, what is the big deal? A lot of people don't know the new laws that are coming into place. A lot of things are going over our heads. So why is it kind of just important for us to know the law and what's going on?
I mean, it's important to be aware of the law in general, if you ask me, because you want to know what your rights are. You want to know if you're being violated or not, or whether or not someone is trying to take advantage of you, or if you want to grow or seek an opportunity. A lot of times what I've seen is people are maybe hesitant to do so because they don't know whether or not it's legal for them to do it or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you're right. 2023, it's a lot going on. I've seen, several things, but I've seen lots of different issues that affect a broader spectrum of the society or of our community than other areas of the law.
Okay. And then we've had conversations in the past where you've talked about you've helped people with their criminal record. And I thought that was really important because a person like myself who come from a different background and now I'm trying to elevate myself.
Right.
My record sometimes has gotten in the way of me doing different things or different opportunities. So can you just explain on how getting a lawyer can help with getting your criminal record, I guess, closed, or, just what is that process?
Yeah. So basically, here in the state of Texas, and I'm sure this is true in other states as well, but here in the state of Texas, if you have a criminal record and you're trying to get rid of that criminal record one way or another, you can get what's called an expunction or a non-disclosure. But you, depending on what your criminal record is, you will qualify for one versus the other. But basically the difference is this: an expunction destroys all criminal records for a given offense, and you have to qualify for it. There are different eligibility requirements. A non-disclosure will not destroy all criminal records, but what it'll do is it'll seal them. So basically, the government will still be able to see that you have something on your record, whatever that may be. However, any private entity, such as a private company you want to work for, as long as it's not a state-owned entity, a state agency, they won't be able to see it. And let's say, for example, a company did a background search on you and they don't want to hire you because you have something on your record, whatever that may be. If you got a non-disclosure, that background company will not be able to see that because the government will not be able to release that criminal record. However, if they have a record of it anyway, somehow, some way they have a record of it, they held onto a past record of it, that non-disclosure, if you presented them with that court order, they will have to destroy that record. An expunction, for example, even the government has to destroy their records. So the government cannot keep those records. And then with both an expunction and a non-disclosure, if you're asked on an application, have you ever been convicted of this particular type of offense or even been arrested for this particular type of offense, you can legally say no. So basically it gives you a legal right to lie about that particular given offense.
And so what's the process on getting that record sealed, or is it up to a year or, a couple of months? Because, some people are trying to get, a home or something, and they just want to know, all right, I'm going to go through with this process with my lawyer, but am I going to be paying him for the next year or so, or how does it work?
So basically the way it works is Okay, yeah. So like you mentioned, a lot of people are trying to either seek certain types of employment or trying to move into a particular neighborhood or apartment complex, whatever that may be, and there's something on their criminal background is holding them back. So the process would be like this. It doesn't take that long. It just really depends. There's a screening process involved because you have to be eligible for it. So the number one eligibility for an expunction is that the case was dismissed. Somehow, some way, it was dismissed. So whether that be you did a probation and it got dismissed, then you're possibly eligible for an expunction, or it just got dismissed outright one way or another. With the non-disclosure, yes, if you did a probation and it was dismissed, you were eligible for a non-disclosure. If, for example, with the non-disclosure, you were convicted of something, you have a conviction on your criminal record. A lot of convictions can be non-disclosed. They cannot be expunged, but they can be non-disclosed, meaning they can be sealed. So with that being said, it normally takes about, from the time you file it, it just depends on the court, but I would say at least 60 days. But it could be 30 days, but it just depends on the court. But at least 60 days, because the court will not have jurisdiction once you file it for 30 days. And then generally you'll get a hearing on it after another 30 days. And then at that time, at the hearing, the judge will determine whether or not you're eligible for the expunction or non-disclosure. And either it'll be granted or denied, but a lot of times I won't file it unless legally you qualify for it to be granted. But that's about how long it takes. But as far as the cost, did you ask about the cost? It's not terribly expensive. All things being considered, the benefit that you would get from it. But it really depends. But if it's a basic offense or if it's something more serious, such as a felony, and by basic I mean something such as a misdemeanor, then it can range, and the expunction can range anywhere from $750 to $1,000 if it's a felony, just depending on what it is. We would just need to evaluate that and see how much. But all things being considered, it's not terribly expensive.
Okay. And then, excuse me, I just want to know, so what are some key mistakes people make when looking for a lawyer? Because there are some great lawyers out here, and then there's some people out here that are just out to get your money. So how do you know when you're what to look for when picking a lawyer? How do y'all know that this person is working for me and not just working to fill his or her own pockets?
So I would say basically if you ask, if somehow, some way you're speaking to that prospective lawyer, I would say as long as they're not trying to hide the ball from you. So if you ask them a particular question about something and they're straightforward with you, obviously just depending on you as being a layman, and by layman I mean someone who has not studied the law. If you are not familiar with the legal issue or the law regarding the legal issue that you're asking about, then you may not be able to verify whether or not that potential lawyer is telling you the truth or not. However, I'm sure you could do some type of Google search and try to get some basic information, but you may not have the nuanced understanding of it. However, basically for me, it's whether or not that person is willing to actually disclose information to you, because at the end of the day, you can always try to represent yourself, but there are certain elements regarding the legal system in which it is better for you to have a legal professional such as a lawyer to represent you, to help you navigate that process successfully. And if you're speaking to someone that you want to potentially hire as a lawyer, they should be able to, or they should be willing to disclose with you exactly what your legal issue is and give you a potential solution for it without being afraid that they're wasting their time and giving you free knowledge and you'll do it on your own.
So most of the time, I assume when you first meet with a lawyer, y'all have a consultation. What should the person? Is there any specific questions they should ask their lawyer when first meeting up front, or is it something they shouldn't ask, or like during that process? What is there anything maybe specific they should say or ask or do? Yeah,
so that's another thing. If you're seeking legal representation, that attorney should be willing to do a legal consultation with you if you're still on the fence. And during that legal consultation, as long as it seems like they're very straightforward with you about whatever your legal issue is, then that's a good indicator.
So make sure to ask questions that'll indicate whether they're straightforward or not.
Right. And then also, as far as to your question directly,
excuse me.
I would say questions that you should probably ask. Well, number one, you should probably be aware of exactly what your issue is, and be able to present what that is. Just depending on whatever that issue is, you may want to ask if this particular attorney has experience regarding these matters or similar experience regarding these matters. And then also cost is always a factor. And well, with most people that I meet, they're cost conscious. And just depending on that, if for whatever reason, whatever that particular attorney quotes you, you're not able to afford it, you can always ask if there are other options available, such as maybe that person does a payment plan, or maybe he can refer you to another attorney, or maybe some other options that may be available.
Okay. And I know we also spoke on that you help people with their credit score and credit reports. So can you just speak on, like, in what ways can you help people with their credit report or credit score?
Yeah, so this is touching on the consumer law aspect of what I do. So basically what I noticed is, and what I had touched upon earlier, is there are certain legal issues that affect more people than others. So these are like average issues that people run into as far as the law is concerned. One is their criminal background. Another one includes their credit report or their credit score. So basically, if you have something wrong with your credit, man, and in this society that we live in, everyone needs a particular credit score to get certain things that they need, unless, of course, you have cash and you can afford financing. But not just that. For everything that you use, such as insurance companies run your credit report, and depending on that, they may charge you a higher insurance rate, and so on and so forth. But with that being said, as far as what I can do for you, so let's say you challenge something in your credit, you're disputing something, you want to get that out of your credit. You can go to a credit repair agency, which is great, and hopefully they can help you get it out of your credit. Or maybe you do it yourself, and maybe you can get it out of your credit. But if, just depending on what it is, if it's not budging, whether that be the credit repair person that you went to or whether it be yourself disputing it, and it's not supposed to be there, or it's inaccurate, by that I mean it can be an account that you have, and it may say that you owe $500, but in actuality you only owe $200. And that's inaccurate. So everything on your credit report has to be accurate. So if it's not budging, or if it's not supposed to be there in general, so if it's not budging with the credit repair agency, or it's not budging if you decide to dispute it yourself, at that point the only way to get it removed or get it updated accurately is for you to proceed with litigation or with the threat of litigation. So as far as what I can do is concerned, as a licensed attorney, we can demand that the credit bureau updates this properly. So if they don't update it properly, then they could potentially be on the hook, and you could potentially sue them for something. Or the person that put it in your credit, which is the data furnisher, whether that be a debt collector or whether that be the original creditor. The original creditor is who you originated the debt with. So let's say, for example, you have a medical bill. You went to a hospital or ER or something, and you didn't pay it for whatever reason, or they're disputing that you didn't pay it, but in actuality you did. But for whatever reason, they put in your credit report as if you didn't pay it. But it was the actual hospital that you went to. That would be the original creditor. But for example, if they sold that off to a debt collector, then it's a debt collector trying to collect that debt for them. then that person is obviously a debt collector. Put it in your credit report. But either way, either one of them is what we call a data furnisher. But if it's not supposed to be there or it's inaccurate, you can dispute it. And if they don't update it properly, then you can go after them. And the beautiful thing about it is, with this particular area of the law, you don't have to pay attorney's fees up front. The attorney's fees are collected if we win. So if the case settles, or we file a lawsuit and it potentially settles, or it goes to trial and we win, then you don't have to pay the attorney's fees. The other side will have to pay them.
That's a good piece of knowledge. So, because a lot of people, I mean, I feel, well, myself included, I wouldn't want to hire a lawyer for some situations because of cost sometimes. So if when you do go to a lawyer and everything's settled, they won't have to come out of their pocket. That's basically what you're saying, yeah?
Right. They won't have to personally, so the client wouldn't have to personally come out of his or her pocket, but our fee will come out of the settlement itself.
Okay, and that's actually pretty good information. I mean, I feel like that'd be really helpful. So I just want to move on to the next area. I had a question I asked on social media. What if, like, people got to ask a lawyer anything? What would they ask? And one of the questions that kept coming up, specifically relating to credit, was medical bills and things like that. People always talking about how the medical bill is on their credit, and is that an area that you can also help them with? I think I remember you saying once that was like one of the easiest things to help people with, and it was just funny that so many people kept mentioning that, and I was like, people must not know how, I guess, easy it is.
Right. So, all right. So basically, so a medical bill in your credit report, if it's bringing down your credit score, obviously you want to get rid of that. Yes, you can get it out of your credit, and compared to other things that may be in your credit, it's not as difficult to get out. So, and the reason for that being, number one, with the medical bill, for example, you have what's called HIPAA laws. So those are privacy laws that protect your medical records, and your medical bills are a part of your medical records. So for example, in the hypothetical I gave earlier about an ER, so if you went to an ER, you accrued a medical bill, they put it in your credit, or they gave it to a debt collector put it in your credit, whatever the case may be. In the event that it's a debt collector, if you contacted that medical provider, so in this case, let's say the emergency room, that particular hospital, then what would occur, and you told them, look, I don't want you to disclose any of my information regarding my medical records to anyone else, then you are protected by HIPAA. And as a result of that, the debt collector, which is a third party, the medical provider, the original medical provider, the hospital, cannot disclose any more information to that debt collector. And whenever you're disputing something that a debt collector has put in your credit report, that debt collector has to validate that has to validate that debt. And generally speaking, it'll be terribly difficult for them to validate it if they cannot get the information necessary from the original creditor, which in this particular case is the medical provider, the ER of the hospital that you went to.
Okay. So, and again, like you said, it is one of the easiest things to help people with, yes?
Yeah, for the most part it is, compared to other things that may be in your credit.
Okay, good. So, yeah, for anybody watching and y'all got some medical bills, get that taken care of. Because, I mean, your credit score and everything does play a major role in life. And I just had a guest on, Kelly Burke, who is a business guy, and I believe your credit does affect you in, like, trying to get open businesses or anything of that such as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you just, anything that you try to get nowadays, obviously if you want to get a credit card, you may get denied a credit card based on your credit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What would you, I guess, give advice to a young person who isn't focused on his credit right now? He's just living life, shooting shit, spending stuff up, doing whatever.
Yeah.
To help him avoid having to come to you later on, you know, to get some stuff off his record, or I mean, off his credit report.
So yeah, basically what I would just say is, yeah, so if you're trying to repair it, so if you have something in your credit, you're trying to repair your credit, sure, you could come to me and I can help you with that. That's fine. You could go to a credit repair agency and they can help you with it. And hopefully they will be able to get it out of your credit. But in the event that they can't, then what distinguishes me from them is I'm a lawyer and I can file a lawsuit or threaten to file one. And generally speaking, just depending on what it is, if it's not supposed to be there or if it's inaccurate, the creditor or debt collector or the credit bureau, they'll have to go ahead and fix that. But what I would say is, yes, you need to be conscientious of your credit because currently the way our society is built, unless you have cash, you know, you can afford to pay for something in full, you want some type of financing for whatever that may be. You know, some person may want to start a podcast of their own and they need the equipment to do it. If you can afford to buy it in cash, great. But you may need to finance that. Let's say you go to, I'm just throwing something out there. Let's say you go to Best Buy, you need some expensive camera equipment or some other store. You can't afford to pay it in full, but they have financing that you can get through them and you could pay it off in installments. They're going to run your credit. And if your credit is not good enough, they're not going to give it to you. Now, so I would say, you know, you need to be conscientious of that. And if you do have an issue with that, then reach out to a credit repair agency or reach out to someone else who does credit repair, or you can reach out to an attorney who does, such as myself, and hopefully, you know, just depending on the situation, we'll be able to improve that situation.
Okay. And I kind of want to talk to you a little personal. So I'm really big on mentorship. Mm-hmm. I have multiple mentors, and you just been in the law field, especially as a black man. Did you have any mentors throughout that process? If so, in what ways did they help you, or like in what ways did you use them for guidance?
Yeah, so I had a few, and yeah, I would say they helped me tremendously with a lot of different things. One, networking, because just depending on who your mentor is, you know, I'm assuming they're well established or more established than you. And so clearly they can help you network with other people who are established. And then just from that perspective alone, you're becoming known in whatever field it is that you want to be in. And and as I'm sure you know, that draws hopefully more positive attention to you and obviously more business opportunities. But then also from a substantive perspective, you know, you can read or you can practice law or whatever field that you may be in. But there are certain aspects that you can't necessarily read in a book, or that you actually have to learn on the job. And a mentor obviously helps you avoid certain big mistakes that everybody's going to make mistakes. That's how you learn, but helps you avoid certain big mistakes that may stunt your growth as opposed to not having a mentor.
Okay. Just one last question. So you are creating a brand, the Greater Knowledge Crew.
Right.
Can you want to talk about what inspired, I guess, the name, where it came from, and then what does it mean to you? Like, what is the whole?
Yeah. So what inspired it? I guess for me, what inspired just creating a brand is, I mean, to me, it seems like you can reach more people if you brand yourself in a particular way. Because, yeah, you know, someone can know my name, but you'll be more recognized if you have a particular brand. And I've never really been a person who just wanted to have a brand like that. But I realized that, order for me to really accomplish the things that I want to accomplish and reach the amount of people that I want to reach, that I need to have a brand. But as far as the Greater Knowledge Crew, that particular name is concerned, because I just came up with that name by being true to myself, because for me, my whole life is just about expanding my knowledge and my understanding about almost anything in life, but particularly things that I care about more. And so for me, that's just a way of elevating myself and my consciousness and shifting it in a positive way. And so that particular name to me just seemed like it fits who I am more than anything else.
All right. So we're going to close out, and I like to close out, or I'm going to always close out with this one question. And a piece of advice you got at one point in your life that really stuck out to you or really helped you out.
It's a lot, but I would say the one that probably helped me out the most is put God first. So, yeah, so just by putting God first, everything else falls in place for me.
Yeah. And that is true. That is true. Well, all right, guys, this has been another dope conversation with my dope guest, Mr. Chase. So, see y'all next time.